Hi, my name is Len.
My name is Mini Kai.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and the purpose of this video is to address Dylan's problems and ways that we can help Dylan solve his problems.
Hi, this is Dylan. He is the student in year 11. Like other adolescents, Dylan is struggling with many problems in school and at home. He is physically maturing. He is engaging in high-risk behaviors such as smoking, stealing. He feels stressful due to the high expectation from his parents. So, what should Dylan do and how can we help Dylan? In the following sections, we will use academic research on adolescent development and teaching to help Dylan go through the difficult time. We will focus on late maturation, risk behavior, and cognitive development. We will also discuss and demonstrate effective and supportive strategy to help Dylan. We will analyze the benefits and limitations of the approaches to help Dylan. We believe the strategies can increase Dylan's success and well-being both inside and outside the school. At the end, we will talk about the individual reflections based on the adolescent development and teaching unit.
In Dylan's case, he is physically late maturing compared to other boys in his age. He is shorter and weaker than others. So, what is late maturation? Anna 2015 argues that late maturation is defined as absence of the start of maturation at expected time, and it involves many aspects such as physical development, brain development, and sexual maturation. The next question is, what are the symptoms of the late maturation? For example, delayed growth rate, such as under-height, underweight. Other symptoms can be lack of pubic hair by age 15. In this slide, I will discuss what factors can cause late maturation. Firstly, the most common factor is called constitutional delay of growth and puberty. One of the articles shows around 65% of boys with delayed puberty have CDGP. It relates to family genetic factors. Although those kids grow slowly, they eventually proceed normally. There are other factors such as Turner syndrome, tumors, systemic illness. These factors will lower the level of gonadotropin and stop the production of the hormones. Central 2014 mentioned late maturation can affect well-being and the relationship with the people who are close to late maturating adolescent. Those dimensions are individual dimension, parent-adolescent relation, peer relation. Referring to Dylan's case, we will find that physically maturating boys have higher rate of substance use, juvenile delinquency, lower performance in school. So, Dylan is engaging in high-risk behavior such as smoking, stealing. Dylan also has a negative feeling about his body image due to late maturation, which contribute to the negative side of self-identity. For example, Dylan may feel less comfortable and upset when he compares with other stronger boys. It turns out he is trying to isolate from his friends. However, the peer pressure could be one of the reasons that make him stop associating with friends. Ellis 2011 found that relationship between parents and adolescents could become cooler. So conflict increased and closeness decreased. Therefore, in Dylan's case, even though his parents are very concerned about his performance in school, it seems like he doesn't want to talk about it.
According to Dylan's case, today I'm going to talk about risk-taking behavior. Dylan now tends to be withdrawn and engaging in high-risk behavior such as smoking, taunting, and stealing. Risk-taking behavior as adolescent year can be explained through the influence of three main groups of factors, which is biological, psychological, and social. Biological factors affecting an adolescent risk-taking behavior come from genetic within the family, hormone level, pubertal timing, and the unequal development of the brain system. Due to the faster maturation of the limbic system in adolescence compared to the frontal lobe, which control our cognitive control system. Dylan involved in smoking can be explained as he is trying to impress in front of his peer because his social emotional center is hijacked by the rational decision making process. The unequal brain development is also interconnected to the psychological factor of sensation seeking that propels teenagers to seek new experience, exploring novelty, and participate in risk-taking activity in order to obtain those new experiences. In discussing, psychological factor is comprised of psychological trait, which is a consistent behavior across a range of situations, and psychological state, which is a temporary state of mind based on situational factor. Dylan might be curious about new experience and involved in high-risk behavior under his peer pressure without knowing the negative consequences. This can be explained as psychological state. Lastly, social factor. Social factors affecting teenager risk-taking behavior are peer and family influences. Adolescent risk-taking is generally group-based, and males tend to gather in networks, which are loosely affiliated peer groups. Adolescent risk-taking is also influenced by family factors such as parental attention toward their children. If a child is looked after, cared for, and being trusted and supported by their parent, he or she will less likely to take risks, whereas parental hostility, aggression, and neglect may be contribute to more risk-taking behavior. Dylan involved in high risk-taking behavior might be because he has been influenced by his peer group at school. Also, parent expectation putting on him is too much for him to handle. Adolescent already has the expectation to be prepared for adult role by parent and teacher, and is quite stressful for teenager. Dylan's parents want him to receive a scholarship at the US university, which can put more pressure on him and may result in adolescent in self-rejecting attitudes. Putting too much pressure and too high expectation on Dylan might lower his self-esteem, and he might think it's a failure for not achieving the expectation, which can stop him to try next time. Into the same format.
Dylan excels at multiple areas such as basketball and drama. His parents aim for him to get good grades so he can get into a good university. Dylan has an enormous cognitive load that he must fulfill in order to meet parental expectations. Dylan associates with not pro-social peers and takes part in risky behavior. This means that Dylan is experiencing high cognition. This is because the limbic system develops faster than cognitive functions, and this is why Dylan engages in risk-taking behavior with not pro-social peers rather than make decisions using his cognitive control systems. David Hall and Don Brown state that students will approach things that students feel they can achieve. They argue that teaching strategies to improve cognition across a wide range of activities in school can create a positive learning environment. They argue that students' learning and experiences can have positive social and emotional learning, and staff play a role for this to occur. The cognitive skills they make reference to that can enhance positive social emotional learning are the ability for students to self-monitor and have self-instructions. They argue that the way students believe can have an impact on what they aim to do. By teaching these skills, they make reference to other sources which highlight that if students feel they have power over challenges, they will respond in a positive manner to counter it. The challenge, however, they raise is that positive thinking such as motivation cannot be entirely taught to everyone. They argue this because in order for students to do better, students need to know their role and how they can impact on the challenges they face. This means that Dylan can be taught these cognitive skills and thoughts and learn that he has power over challenges. Dylan will learn that there are new ways to tackle his current problems. To improve his academic fallout, as suggested by Hill and Brown, Achievable goals should be set for him so that he can believe he can go further and improve. Nancy Frey, Douglas Fisher, and Dominic Smith argue that metacognition is important to help students develop social and emotional learning. They argue that metacognition refers to the way one thinks about their own thinking. They state that it goes into three parts: recognizing one and others' thinking, looking at actions needed to complete a task, and strategies that one can use to complete set tasks. They argue that this allows students to develop self-regulation and how to look at angles to tackle a challenge. They argue that this can be taught in schools through activities in class. The limitation, they state, is that if social and emotional learning, such as the skill mentioned above, is not incorporated into students' daily activities such as school content, then it will have a less effect. They argue for social and emotional learning to be cannot be effective if it's a program that stands alone, but students respond better when incorporated into their daily lives.
Sandy, how do you address Dylan's issue in high-risking behaviors?
Yes, I have come up with some strategy that can help Dylan to reduce risk-taking behavior. The first one can be we should help Dylan to learn how to assess risk. This could be talking about other people's experience in risk activity and highlight the negative consequences so Dylan can understand. The next one can be allow freedom inside a set of ground rules, safe risky taking. This involves flexibility for students to explore new ideas and different activities with a set of level of risk that was agreed on earlier, responding to adolescent desire to seek new experience. The next one can be keep the communication line open up between teacher and student, so teacher can ready to intervene if they sense something isn't normal with Dylan. The last one can be encourage Dylan to have a wide social network, so the interaction come from variety of students, and less likely he will only interact with only member in his group because they might have negative influence on him. Do you have any idea?
Yeah. To address the physical late maturation, I strongly suggest the strategy based on the framework of GRIP and the hormones treatment due to the genetic factors. So for the GRIP methods, it's about gaining the information, respond, and involve others. And the final one is to promote positive school environment to help Dylan to improve the performance in schools. So Hannah, how do you help Dylan in cognitive aspect?
I would help Dylan by helping promote positive thinking. So to have positive thinking, to have self-regulation, to believe that he has autonomy over his challenges. In that way he can develop, and also to help him develop set goals so that he knows that he can achieve them, and also that he has self-monitoring to see if he is attaining the goals that he has set himself or has not set himself.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, guys. And I have come up with some website can help Dylan with his struggle as well. This can be Reach Out or Youth Beyond Blue, Buy Back, or Kids Matter.
That's good.
Okay, now we're going to talk about some advantages and disadvantages that come up with our strategies.
Yeah.
So you have any suggestion?
Yeah, for the benefits, those strategies help Dylan to shape the positive self-identity and get rid of the bad behaviors.
Yep. How about you?
It helps Dylan build up his self-esteem so he can have self-confidence.
Yep, I strongly agree with that because positive psychology will help students build motivation in order to achieve higher goals. So about disadvantages, I think this is just the first step to help Dylan to balance his life. However, it will be time consuming for him to improve his academic achievement at school because all the knowledge that he was missing will take time to regain. So parents should not expect his grade at school will improve straight away.
I think it's also hard to help Dylan to get away from the bad peers. And for my own part, due to the genetic factors and biological functions, so it's a bit hard to change. As a teacher, what we can do just suggest Dylan's parent to bring him to the doctors and find out what's the best treatment for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, since Dylan smokes, it is not very easy to get off smoking, so that will take time.
Through the units, I realized adolescent development and teaching is extremely significant for both teaching and learning. As you know, the adolescent period is a time of massive change. It is a sensitive time that young people cannot manage all decisions on their own. They need support and help to work through the changes, to make the right choices, to make sense of the new situation which they face. The unit Adolescent Development and Teaching provides specific strategy and effective teaching approaches to support students' health, well-being, and safety. It is also useful for teachers to make positive connections with students' parents, and learning community. For example, we have GRIP method to deal with the troubled students. We have CHILD framework to promote students' social and emotional well-being. There are also many helpful and supportive approaches to help students to build and increase positive thinking, resilience, and satisfaction in life. As a future mathematics teacher, I reflect cognitive foundation theory can help me to improve my students' learning, particularly reduce the wasteful long and split attention when we teach complex materials such as geometry, probability, and algebra topics. Introduce a scaffolding teaching approaches to give a student choices to finish their work independently and provide a proper support. Facilitate group work or peer tutoring to make a better outcome in math subjects. Beyond maths, I believe the most important work for a teacher is to respect my students, to know my students, and to care about my students. I always remind myself as a teacher, I'm not only teaching the students, but also teaching human beings.
Adolescent Development and Teaching Unit allow me to learn about adolescent development theory can benefit me in my future teaching career. It's essential for teachers to acknowledge and understand about human memory, cognitive control system, and human psychology, especially as adolescent years. With all the knowledge, I can design better a soft lesson plan and also can avoid extraneous overload for students. According to Ashraf, the human memory consists of two distinct types, short-term and long-term memory. Short-term memory is memory for information that is currently the focus of our attention, retained for only 30 seconds, and is a limited of holding between 5 to 9 elements of information. Therefore, it's essential for teachers to understand the limitation in student capacity and design appropriate lesson plan. As a math teacher, math is a heavy unit that requires students to remember a lot of formula and also grossing skill from previous knowledge. So it would be great if teacher being able to teach so that knowledge can retain in student long-term memory, because long-term memory is unconscious, unlimited in capacity, and automatic in process. Teachers should highlight key points at the end of every lesson and revise them before starting the new lesson so students can remember and retain their long-term memory to gain previous knowledge. Within mathematics unit, I think that the topic about split attention is absolutely applicable. Split attention is when two sources of related information, such as question and solution, are presented in two different locations. Requires students to look back and forward in order to follow. This can solve by placing the solution side by side or integrate the solution into the question in step-by-step format. For example, in math, it can be explained as diagram and solution physically integrate together. Positive psychology is another topic I found really interesting in this unit. As a teacher, I can help students to find and develop their strength in what they can do the best rather than criticize them for what they can't. Teacher can give positive psychology to students by valuing, respecting student contribution and effort. Teacher can also motivate students by praising their hard work by saying good job, keep it up, or you're doing really well.
The unit has given me a better understanding of what adolescence is and how it functions. I have also had a better understanding of what adolescence is through looking at the different theories and theorists who have different views on what adolescence is and how it functions. I have also learned about the many stages of adolescence and the many different ideas and concepts related to it, such as biological, cognitive, and social development. I have been especially keen on social and emotional learning, which highlights that social and emotional learning is just as important as cognitive learning. This is something I aim to take into my teaching career. My main focus is English, which is my main KLA, and I aim to take social and emotional learning with me to help students understand that having a positive outlook and facing challenges head on is as important as succeeding and learning cognitively. This will help students understand that failures and challenges are a positive thing which will help them further their career within English. English can be challenging and difficult, and I aim to help them understand that even if they do face bumpiness in this, that they can access supports and services which will help them understand the work they are at and help them feel confident about the challenges they face. This is what I aim to take with me to my teaching career.